Hello, and welcome to New Story. You may have seen this banknote before, and perhaps you noticed the monument featured on the back. But have you ever stopped to ask what it actually is? This remarkable building is one of Moldova's most important historic churches, known as the St. Demetrius Church in Orhei. More than just a place of worship, it is recognized as a monument of national importance for Moldova. That is exactly why it was chosen to appear on the back of this 5 Moldovan Lei Banknote. In today's video, we will take a closer look at the history of this beautiful church and discover why it holds such an important place in Moldova's cultural heritage. The St. Demetrius Church was built between 1631 and 1636 as a foundation of Prince Vasile Lupu, who ruled as voivode of Moldova from 1634 to 1653. Vasile Lupu was of Albanian and Greek origin, and he was said to speak Romanian with an accent. He saw himself as a successor to the Byzantine emperors. Even his name Vasile seemed to reflect that ambition, echoing the legacy of Emperor Vasile I. He also presented himself as a defender of the Orthodox Christian world, using his wealth and influence to support major religious institutions. Among his many acts of patronage, he helped pay off the debts of the Patriarch of Constantinople. Vasile Lupu's reign was also marked by an ambitious wave of church and monastery building. According to Paul of Aleppo, he built no fewer than 44 stone churches and monasteries during his rule. However, among all of these religious foundations, the St. Demetrius Church in Orhei seems to have held a special meaning for him. While Iași was the political center of Moldova, Orhei was said to be a place of refuge for Vasile Lupu and his family. He often came here because the air near the local stream was believed to help his son, Ioan, who suffered from a serious illness. Historical accounts suggest that Vasile Lupu also chose St. Demetrius the miracle worker as the patron saint of the church, specifically in the hope that his son might be healed. In the Orthodox world, St. Demetrius was widely venerated as a miracle working saint, especially as a protector and healer of the sick. Seen in that light, this church may have been more than just a display of piety or prestige for Vasile Lupu. There is a deeply human story behind it. It may well have been for this reason that Vasile Lupu personally consecrated the church in 1637 and left behind a stone inscription, which still survives today on the church portal. The inscription names not only Vasile Lupu himself, but also his wife Theodosia and their son Ioan as the church's founders. It was written in Church Slavonic, which at the time was the official language of the Moldovan Principality. This is what the inscription says: "With the will of the Father, the help of the Son, and the fulfillment of the Holy Spirit. This church was begun and built in the name of the holy, glorious, and great martyr, Demetrius the miracle worker, by Io Vasile Voivod, by the mercy of God Lord of Moldova, and his lady Theodosia, and their son Ioan Voivod." Inside the church, there is also a mural depicting Vasile Lupu holding a model of the building in his hands, a traditional symbol showing that the church was founded under his patronage. In keeping with the Moldovan architectural style of the period, the church is made up of several distinct parts: a semicircular altar on the eastern side, the nave, the narthex, and the porch, with a bell tower superimposed on it. The nave and the narthex, both square in plan, are covered by semi-spherical domes resting on pendentives. The windows inside are small, with Orhei-shaped frames and cornices above them. The side walls also contain deep niches where the windows are set, creating the impression of a cross-shaped interior when the church is viewed from within. From the outside, however, that cruciform effect is much less noticeable, because the outer walls project only slightly. The exterior is also defined by narrow buttress-like projections, as well as a sexton's room. A bronze statue of Vasile Lupu also once stood in the church courtyard. It was created by the sculptor Oskar Hahn and inaugurated in 1937 in Orhei. But the history of the monument soon became as dramatic as the history of the region itself. During the upheavals of the Second World War, the statue was moved repeatedly. It was first evacuated to Iași in 1940, returned to Orhei in 1942, then taken to Craiova in 1944, and finally transported to the Soviet Union in 1945. After it was eventually brought back, the statue stood for a time near its original location in Orhei, and later in the courtyard of the St. Demetrius Church. Today, it has been restored to a prominent place in Orhei, just a few meters from where it first stood. And after the statue was moved from the church grounds to the city center, a cross was erected in its place in the church courtyard. Architecturally, the church we see today is only partly the same as the one originally built in the 17th century. To truly appreciate it, we have to imagine the older core of the building hidden beneath its later additions. The earliest structure had an elongated plan, ending in a semicircular eastern apse where the altar stood. Over the centuries, however, the church was gradually modified. Documentary evidence points to several later additions. A porch with a bell tower was attached to the narthex, a sexton's room was added, and buttresses were built to reinforce the altar walls. The church remained active as a parish church throughout its history, but its role extended far beyond worship alone. It was also closely tied to the economic and administrative life of the area. At one point, a stone measure known as banita was placed at the church, reminding townspeople that a tenth of the harvest was expected to go to the clergy. In 1939, the church marked its 300th anniversary with a major restoration. A marble plaque at the entrance still commemorates that moment today. But only a few years later, the church was swept into the devastation of the Second World War. It suffered severe damage from bombs and bullets, and even now, the church bell still bears the bullet holes left behind by the war. During the Soviet period, the church continued to function as a parish church and was granted legal protection as a cultural heritage monument, a status it still holds today. A new chapter in its history also began in 2016, when Archimandrite Silouan Shalari was appointed Bishop of Orhei and Vicar of the metropolis of Chisinau and all Moldova. With that appointment, the St. Demetrius Church was elevated to the status of cathedral. What makes this church so compelling is that all of these historical layers still coexist in one place today. More than anything, it remains an important part of Moldova's cultural and spiritual heritage. So, the next time you see a 5 Lei banknote, take a closer look. Because the building on its back is more than just an illustration. It is a piece of Moldovan history held in the palm of your hand. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I will see you in the next video.